The Central Bank of Nigeria has banned the sale of Forex to bureau de change operators in the country. And the Apex Bank announced this on the sideline of the monetary policy meeting against the backdrop of excesses of the BDCs, which has grossly affected the foreign exchange market. The CBN says it will now direct its weekly Forex sale to commercial banks who are in turn to make it readily available to the public. Lara Falayan reports.
The Central Bank of Nigeria making known the outcome of its July Monetary Policy Committee meeting. And this comes with the announcement of an end to dollar sales to bureau de change operators. The Apex Bank blames this decision on their involvement in illicit Forex deals. It also adds that going forward, applications for BDC licenses will not be processed. Weekly sale of foreign exchange will now be directed to commercial banks. The banks are admonished to sell the Forex to consumers transparently, as no illegal transactions will be tolerated.
We are also concerned that bureau de change have become a conduit for illicit financial flows. Indeed, the facts abound that BDCs have turned themselves into agents that facilitate graft and corrupt activities of people who seek to conduct illicit funds flow and money laundering in Nigeria. And we will go after all of them.
On the outcome of the MPC meeting, the existing monetary policy stance was retained on grounds of a need to consolidate economic growth amid inflation at a 4-year high.
The committee thus decided on, by a unanimous vote, to retain the monetary policy rate at 11.5%. In summary, MPC voted to 1. Retain MPR at 11.5%, 2. Retain asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700 basis points around the MPR, 3. Retain the CRR at 27.5%, and 4. Retain the liquidity ratio at 30%.
The Apex Bank urged the public to report banks who deny them access to Forex. It also revealed that its e-Naira initiative takes off in October, adding that its stand on cryptocurrencies has not changed.
All right, joining us for this conversation is financial consultant Nnemeka Obiariri. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. Reactions have continued to trail this development from the central bank. And one of the voices is Obadiah Meilafia, who said that he thinks this is a short-sighted policy. I wonder what you make of this development.
This is the best policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria over the last 5 years. And I'm so excited that they took this step. We must tell ourselves the truth without emotions. 5,506 BDCs. In an economy that is import dependent, all they do is hawk dollar and collect naira. And $7.2 billion frittered away without adding any value to the productive railway sector of the economy does not augur well for the headness of our economy. It is long overdue. CBN, I want us to note, did not ban the BDCs from operating. CBN is saying, we will not allocate dollar to you at the subsidized rate of 382 naira, so that you can give to those at the little end of the market, and then you will turn around to sell the dollar at 502, 506 in the wholesale market, and bringing them out of fictitious documentations to back it up. CBN said, going forward, we will not sell our crude oil and get our scarce dollar resources and then hand it over to you for you to give it to those that want to launder money and take the dollar out of circulation. We will not do it. Go out there, source for your own dollar and give to your market. That's what CBN said. And it's very, very good. For those who said it is short-term, it's very unfortunate. Let me tell you the truth. Nigeria is a monopolar economy. And as such, we do not even export anything beyond the crude oil. The demand pool on the dollar, scarce dollar resources, is very, very high. And what happens here, if these BDCs have been providing these funds to those at the lower base of the retail window, and these monies are being used for economic activities, we won't be having the kind of situation we have today. What is actually happening here is that people buy this dollar and hide it away under their basements. People buy this dollar and stack it away outside the system. If this dollar is being given to them as circulating within the system, we won't have the much pressure as we have today.
Does handing these activities or this process over to commercial bank stop these activities that you are mentioning?
What I'm saying, I'm coming to that.
All right.
I don't want a repeat of what happened in the 1980s and the 1990s. Most of the so-called big banks you see today and the bank promoters who prance around acting as patriotic citizens, that was how they made their money. A bit tragic. People get dollar then at 18 naira, they will sell it at 60 naira. Round trip. It was so rife under Abacha's regime when we have dual exchange rate window. Central Bank of Nigeria must up their games in terms of supervision. We don't want to chase away the BDCs and then transfer the burden of this corruption to the personnel and owners of the deposit money banks. Because that is what is going to happen now. They will continue the racket, but now through the deposit money banks. We have to watch very, very closely. We have made some recommendations. You remember that EFCC chairman alluded to the fact that he gave the bankers the due to submit their asset and liability declarations. I think they should go, or the central bank will have to join in this. Two things must be done. The branch managers in the bank that will be attending at the retail window, the treasurers of the bank and the owners of the bank must be made clearly accountable. I insist that Baba should go all the hog. Number two, the central bank must also establish an e-platform that will clearly document, that will give access, back-end access to the FIRS, back-end access to the FCC. And then they should appoint independent auditors like the KPMG and the PwC that will do weekly and monthly audit to know how these dollars that are being given to them on a weekly basis are dispersed and utilized. If we do not put proper check, if the CBN does not up their games, what we had in the banking industry in the 80s, where we have about 89 banks, all they will do is raise CPs, collect dollar, round trip without adding value to our economy. If the central bank does not up their game and put in place stringent check valves to ensure that the retail end of the market get access to this dollar, and what happened in the BDCs may repeat itself.
But have the CBN shown that it has the capacity to ensure these stringent measures are put in place? Are you confident that it will be able to do so?
Let me tell you, the CBN has the capacity. I will explain to you.
Right.
During the eras of Dr. Kachukwu Ibe as the GMD of the NNPC and the Minister for State Corporation, something happened. Remember, before then, we had issues of marketers who claimed to bring product, they did not bring product. What Kachukwu Ibe did was very simple. Kachukwu Ibe drew up a program working with the NNPC, Central Bank and NNPC, where they allocate dollar to those that will import petroleum products. They appointed auditing firms that will do spot checks weekly or monthly basis to ensure that every of the dollar that was dispersed was used to bring in petroleum products. The central piece, see, we are in a tech world, we're in the 21st century. Everything has gone digital. If the central bank does not know how to engage consultants, you create an importer. In fact, even customers, because interestingly, most of those who are at the retail end of the market, SMEs, the micro, small, and enterprise, are not even accessing this money. What we have been experiencing over the last 3 years with the access of the business, they collect these monies. Some of these monies go to help those that want to launder money, and that is where you see so much pressure on the dollar. Somebody that collected a FAC, took his security vote, and go to the nearest BDC, he is willing to pay as much as 100 naira to be able to convert that naira to dollar, because he did not work for the naira. As quickly as possible, he wants to convert it into a convertible currency that he can stash away and hide away in his work away. So the Central Bank of Nigeria must create an e-portal. They must go digital. Every applicant must go through that portal. Every disbursement that is made out of those dollars must be accounted. The FIRS, the EFCC, and it will even help us to even capture people in our tax net. Over 50% of those who are selling some of these natural BDCs are even people you can't even be able to monitor. That is why it was stated again that they were used to launder money, they were used to even fund terrorism. Emefiele is spot on here. The banks must be optimally checked. I tell you, if we do not check these bankers, Bawa must go all the way to ensure that the branch managers, the treasurers of banks, the promoters of banks hand over the statement of their assets and liabilities and monitor them closely. It's very, very important. If not, we'll be sending our monkey to buy a dog.
Now, we already see the pressure on the exchange rate in the parallel market. Already, we see the rates of inching closer to 550 naira to a dollar. I wonder how much pressure you are envisaging at this point.
Let me tell you, it's the usual gangsterism in the economy. This is just trying to put pressure on the Central Bank of Nigeria to reverse their stand. Most of those, they are holding the dollar, they are keeping it away. If you say that it goes, CBN should not buck 1 inch. It is usual pressure. It will inch down. It happens in every market. It is demand and supply pool. In every commodity market, even currency market, it happens. This pronouncement will elicit a drive up. But once the picture becomes clearer and the CBN begin to pump in dollar into the market, it will moderate. It happened just last 2 weeks. OPEC came up and said they are going to increase output. They are going to increase output. What is simple? Before you knew it, the price of the crude oil dropped by almost 10%. Market reacted. But as I'm talking to you, it has inched up because the information is clearer, the process is clearer, and things have come back to normal. It will moderate down. As long as the Central Bank of Nigeria ensures and puts in place mechanisms, working with EFCC, working with the Federal Inland Revenue Services, and then getting auditors, independent auditors, that will do back-end checks, not CBN auditors, independent auditors, that will be doing and then the customers too must also be responsible, as responsible citizens, report anybody trying to extort money from them, try to tell them, bring this, we'll give you this. We must, all of us must be able to build up this economy. Nigeria is bleeding, and it's not the responsibility of government alone. Every one of us, we are part of this government. We are part of governance. We are all responsible citizens. We must do everything humanly possible to see how we can save the naira. And the Central Bank of Nigeria too, they are doing their best in terms of helping to fund the real sector. The physical side, the governors, the local government chairman, the presidency must up their game to support the real sector of the economy so that we can begin to export other things. I've stated it here. Nigeria has capacity to export agri and agro commodities worth over $80 billion annually if we put in place the right physical mechanisms and stop the insecurity in the land. I tell you, once we are able to produce enough export goods to export outside there will be less pressure. The crude oil is nothing. We are resource point out of the crude oil. We must put in place strategic schemes to enable us export more and earn more dollars. There's a lot of demand and supply, and ensure that our scarce resources are optimally applied to the real sector economy, to those who are adding value, and not those who will collect our fat and jack, turn it into dollar, a high dollar investment. All of us must be up and doing to fix Nigeria.
Right, but you see the concern of some Nigerians is the fact that when we see things go up, market forces, especially the ripple effect for commodities, begins to rise, and once it rises, we don't see a drop. So there are implications. That is what the people are, concerned about. The implications on the economy, especially reactions from the markets.
I will give you an example. When people propound these theories that do not have economic foundation, it gets me worried. Somebody tells you in Nigeria things go up and they don't come down. Things go up, they don't come down because supply is less than demand. It's a simple law of economics. I'll give you an example now. Last 6 months ago, a pint of Gary was selling for 300 naira. Today it is 1,200. What is happening? Most farmers are not going to farm because of the insecurity in the land. And the few who farmed last year are exploiting it because the supply is less than demand. The only way we can bring down Gary, very simple, is to encourage cultivation of more cassavas. And if we encourage the cultivation of more cassavas, how do we encourage it? Banning open grazing, enforcing the open grazing, and encouraging farmers to go back to the farm. Within the next 6 months to 8 months, if we have a scientific way, I give an example, I'm from Imo State. We have 657 autonomous communities. 654 autonomous communities. If each community, they will encourage each of them to do 10 or 20 hectares of cassava farm. In the next 6 to 9 months, 9 months to 1 year, we will have excess supply of the cassava and garri. And what happens? When you have excess supply, prices will come down. The major challenge we have is that Nigeria is a monoproduct economy. Over 90% of our forex revenue comes from crude oil. Netherlands, a very small, a very 17 million size people, export over $120 billion worth of agro commodities annually. It has nothing rocket science about agriculture. All we need to do, ban open grazing, enforce it, provide the fiscal incentives for farmers to go back to the farm, then process it and make export procedures at the exit ports, both here at airport, to be less cumbersome. And you will see Nigerians earning more dollars from agro products, being able to provide enough within Nigeria to reduce the food commodity inflation from 22.9% to a single digit. It can be done, but we must be very scientific, all hands on deck. The prices will come down and moderate, and we must also modulate our greed. Nigeria is the only country in the whole of the world where you have 506 BDCs. But in Ghana, if you go to Ghana, you can trade with your dollar and with your naira. If you go with dollar into any shop in Ghana, you can trade and they check and give you cedi. If you go to Liberia today, both the Liberian dollar and the American dollar can be used to purchase anything in the shop. The Central Bank of Nigeria must open up the economy and liberalize it. The same thing for the Petroleum Ministry and the NNPC. We must liberalize this economy and put safety valves to ensure the greedy, very wicked elements in society from profiteering and exploiting the people.
So from your standpoint now, are you saying that should the CBN, eliminate BDCs completely?
No, they should not eliminate it. Why would they eliminate these BDCs? The CBN is simply saying, we will not allocate dollar from CBN coffers to you. Go out there and let me explain to you. Are you aware that in this economy, we have over 5 million diaspora Nigerians out there who always bring in dollar home, who are doing projects, set more billions in Nigeria? Are you aware that annually we have inflows of over $25 billion from the formal sector? And in the informal sector, the number may even be up to $12 to $15 billion. There are some people who come into Nigeria that come in with their dollar cash from Asia, from South Africa, from other places. What the CBN is saying, and what the CBN must also do, is to provide the enabling transparent framework that will enable people to bring in their dollar, take their dollar, they can play with their dollar in the market. I tell you the truth. I was discussing with I had a lot of working with some people, Nigerians in diaspora, Europe, Asia, and America. These guys are willing to come home and invest their money here. These guys are willing to. There was a particular young man that brought in £10,000. After 5 years, by the time he took the money back to the UK, he could not get up to £4,000 because he put the money in that and his value was eroded. And he's simply saying, if we have a framework that can enable easy inflow of dollar and exit without so much constraint, we have the greatest resource Nigeria has. It's not the crude oil. The greatest foreign exchange inflow resource that we have in Nigeria is our huge diasporas. If we create the enabling environment, create the transparency framework around the FX market in Nigeria, most of these guys will bring in this money. Let the BDCs go out there to look for those who are into productive services, those who are into agro commodities, those who are exporting to buy their dollar, to look out for the Nigerians in diaspora who are willing to invest here, to partner with them to bring in dollars. We can help them create the framework. We have developed schemes, transparent papers, transparent instruments through which this can be done transparently. Nigeria as a country
can assess and receive inflows of not less than $150 to $200 billion annually, either from foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investors, and from diaspora remittances and investment. If we put our act together, the greatest resource we have in Nigeria is our human capital, but we're not exploiting it. Everybody is fixated with the crude oil, which is nothing compared to the potential we have in this country.
So when you're talking about framework now, let's put to a proper perspective what that should be. What
it should be is simple. The CBN should open up the market. The CBN should coalesce. We shouldn't be having a multiple exchange rate windows in the market. The official window, the IRP window must come close together. The challenge we have is that because we have these multiple windows, therefore we have a huge arbitrage gap, where the CBN is doing in the retail window at 410, 420, 430 spot, whereas in the black market is going at 506. The gap is so huge. The same thing is happening in the oil and gas industry, where we import petroleum products, spend over $2 trillion annually, subsidizing what we can easily refine here, and then people manipulate it, and the gaps keep on widening. They must make they must create a uniform. The foreign market, Asian market must be transparent. 2, they should allow a framework where dollar can be used to purchase things in Nigeria. If you bring in your dollar, collect your dollar, trade with your dollar. Allow the market to float transparently. Stop manipulating the market. That is what we're trying to say. Let the market go to Ghana, go to Liberia. Liberia does not even produce as much as Nigeria. The same thing with Ghana. Yet, you can go to any shop in Ghana and Liberia, use your dollar, buy things, and either get change in dollar or get change in local currency based on what the seller feels is the value, the intrinsic value of both currencies at a shop. So what the CPI should now do is to be the regulator. If they feel that the pressure is so high, they flood the market with dollar. If they feel there's so much dollar, they say what they manage in naira. So I think that is the best way forward. Trying to regulate this market and create multiple exchange rate regimes and windows will continue to form the kind of arbitrage we have in Nigeria today.
All right. We'll leave the conversation here now. Financial consultant Emeka Obiari, thank you so much for your time on the program.
You're welcome.